الله 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 ما لنا مولى سوى الله 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 ما لنا مولى سوى الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر. وقال تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صدق الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Alhamdulillah, we begin with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and by sending the best of salutations, peace and blessings upon his last and final messenger, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this world for us. It's mentioned in the Quran that whatever is within this earth, it's for you. ما في الأرض جميعا لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. Whatever is in this dunya, it's for us. So meaning, in a way, anything and everything that was created of this world was created for us, to a degree in being able to be of use. Whereas we, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are created for the akhirah, for the life hereafter, for the eternal abode, for the life of eternity. So if you just look at this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that how we are created for the akhirah and this dunya is created for us, it explains a lot. It tells us a lot as to how to live our lives in this dunya and what to expect in the akhirah. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created 12 months from Muharram until Dhul Hijjah. And within these 12 months, just as how we have seasonal, turning points, we have different seasons of the year coming in from time to time. There's a change. Likewise, there's a change in the spirituality of ours as well. Likewise, there's a change which is presented and given, an opportunity which is given to us, so that we make the best of that opportunity which is given to us. We do very little, but we get so much more in return. The month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan only comes once a year, right? If I'm not mistaken, there is an upcoming year, I can't recall if it was 2030 or maybe before or after, but in that one lunar year we'll have 2 Ramadans, inshallah. We can all make dua, Ya Allah, allow us to live to that year as well, where we can enjoy 2 Ramadan lapsing within the same lunar year, because solar year. So the solar year is from January to December, and the lunar year is based on the moon, Islamic months. So in the year 2030, there will be 2 months of Ramadan within that one solar year of the year 2030. So Ramadan is given to us as an excuse, as an opportunity to get ahead. Like if we have been falling behind, this is your time to make up for it. You recite one ayah, it's like you read 70 ayahs. You recite one page of the Quran, it's as if you read 70 pages of the Quran. You recite one juz, it's like you read the same juz 70 times. So Allah gives us that opportunity to make up for what we missed out on. And again, it is Allah who's presenting that opportunity. Likewise, there are other occasions throughout the entire year which we are given from time to time to make amends, to do better, to cover our tracks of that which we fell behind in. And in the same case and scenario, alhamdulillah, now we are going to be entering into the blessed month of Dhul Hijjah, the very first 10 days. And again, this is yet another opportunity where it's a chance given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the best of these days by performing as many good deeds as we possibly can. Why? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions there are no days which any good deed or action that is performed or done, and that action which is done in these days is more beloved to Allah than any other day of the year. And these are the first 10 days of the Hijjah. That any good that you do in these 10 days, it is so beloved in the sight of Allah. You could do the same in any other day, but it will not be as presentable or as beloved to Allah compared to when you do it in the season. When you do it when the opportunity comes your way. Subhanallah, think of it this way. We value something more when there is a need of it. Say there's a bill due, your monthly bill. You know the date. Say it's $1,000. You've had $1,000 in your account all month long, and you're like, yeah, it's there. No worries. But the day the bill is due, a day before it, another bill goes, and you look into your account like, what? What happened? I'm short by 100. Now, all of a sudden, there is so much of worth and value in that $1,000, which you had in your account all along, but because the bill never went through, it wasn't due then, it didn't seem much to you. But now, when you're short by 100, all of a sudden, we go into panic mode. What do I do to cover up? I just need to make sure I get to that 1,000 mark again so that the bill can clear. Otherwise, I don't want to be charged late penalties or interest or whatever else that may come along with it. So now all of a sudden that worth and value of that $1,000 goes through the roof. Why? Now you have a need for it. When you didn't have a need for it, but the $1,000 was in your account, you felt it's not much anyways. No, I mean, it's just $1,000. But all of a sudden when you're falling short by a few dollars, like, man, 1,000, I just need to somehow get to that mark. So, same mindset. When there's a need for something, there's more worth and value to it. And subhanAllah, in these 10 days of the Hijjah, the need for us is to be able to do as much good and hasanat that we can, because if we miss out on this opportunity, post the Hijjah or the post 10 days of the Hijjah, any good that we may do, it's not going to be worth as much. It's not going to hold the same weight or significance or importance in the sight of Allah as it would in these 10 days. For example, the very $10 of sadaqah you give in these 10 days, in the sight of Allah, that 10 is more beloved than you giving 10 continuously after the Hijjah or after the 10 days. The season is gone. I'm sure some of you could relate to this example as well. I love mangoes. I don't know how many of you do, but I really love mangoes. And my parents always tell me that mangoes taste best when they're ripe and it's the season for mangoes. Right or wrong? Right? Mangoes taste best when it's the season and the mango itself is ripe and it's juicy, mashallah, right? Whoa, it's the season for it. That's why it tastes so good. It's the season of hasanat, doing good deeds in these 10 days. That's why they're so good. That's why those actions and deeds before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are so accepted. Now imagine eating a mango, subhanAllah, small tiny little mango in winter. It's not the season, right? Nor is it ripe. Well, I had a mango, but it didn't really taste like a mango. But compared to the mango that you eat, it's ripe and it's the season, it's the time, it's peak. Like, what? Are all mangoes like this? The $10 sadaqah you give in the Hijjah, oh, so fulfilling in the sight of Allah, right? So accepted compared to the $10 you'll give after the 10 days of the Hijjah. And this is based on our tradition, the Quran and Sunnah. And Allah He's designed the system such so that we can benefit from it. And at the end of the day, go home with this message. We should revolve around the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. Not that the deen is revolving around us the entire time. We need to base our decisions based upon the deen of Allah, not let it be that when it's comforting or convenient for me to practice deen, then I'll practice it, otherwise I'll leave it be. That's not how things work. So if Allah and His Rasul are telling us the importance, the virtues, the merits, and how honored these 10 days are of the Hijjah, we should take their word for it. We should strive our best in making sure that we do things which we've never done before in terms of good deeds, good actions. There's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which speaks about the virtues of these days of the Hijjah, that any day in the first 9, any day that you fast in during the first 9 days of the Hijjah, each day of fasting is equivalent to a year of fasting. That is how beloved the act of fasting is within the first days of the Hijjah in the sight of Allah. You fast for one day, it's like you fasted for an entire sana, an entire year. Subhanallah. Just imagine if, and Allah could have done it, He could have ordained or commanded Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and left it behind as an obligation that you are to fast for 365 days of the year at least once in your lifetime. Imagine if Allah revealed that command. He could have done it. We would not have a choice but to make sure that somewhere in our lifetime we fast for 365 days consecutively. How difficult would that be? Nearly impossible. And here we're getting, subhanallah, such an incentive, and we're getting away so easily that a day of fasting in the first days of the Hijjah is equivalent to a year of fasting. That's for the day. Wait until you hear about the virtue of the nights of the Hijjah. In that very hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentions, and a night of worship in the beginning days of the Hijjah, each night is equivalent to the night of Laylatul Qadr. Pause here for a moment. How hard does everyone try in seeking out Laylatul Qadr in the month of Ramadan? Everyone's just like, subhanallah, geared up, searching for it. We have our flashlights. I'm being metaphorical here. Like, could it be the 21st? It's raining outside. Could it be tonight? No. The forecast says 23rd. It's going to be a calm night. A little breeze will blow. Like maybe that night. You know what? Definitely that night. 21st. It's 23rd, so I don't have to pray anything tonight. I'll wait for 23rd. And the entire Ashara, the last final Ashara and the odd nights, everyone's just busy looking for the night. And then we tell ourselves, as if we will justify, and it's not tonight, it's the next night. It's not the 23rd, or it's the 25th. No, it has to be the 27th because the Khatam is happening on the 27th. And then Shaitan gives us that whisper and thought, and we agree to it, we become partners in crime with him, and we forsake all ibadah until Khatm al-Quran night. And the Khatm al-Quran night comes and something else happens and we miss out on ibadah as well. And all of us are trying so hard in finding and seeking Laylatul Qadr in the month of Ramadan. In the first 10 nights of the Hijjah, Rasulullah ﷺ is stating the worship of each night is equivalent to the night of Laylatul Qadr. Now I wonder how many of us are actually going to make or do some ibadah on these nights. It's the season. It's right. This is the time to act, not later. And the need is now, not later. So just think of, subhanAllah, the significance, the importance, the virtue, the merit of any good deeds. The ulama mention it beautifully, how they reconcile. They say, Dhul Hijjah, the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, they outperform the last 10 days of Ramadan in ibadah. The 10 days of the Hijjah, they outperform in terms of acceptance in the sight of Allah, even the last 10 days of Ramadan. However, the last 10 nights of Ramadan outperform the 10 nights of the Hijjah in ibadah. Subhanallah, Allah blessed the ulama with such foresight and insight and such wisdom. And to them, they were always worried and constantly mindful of how to make more sense of the commands of Allah so that they could implement them, act on them, and try to get the best out of everything that Allah has presented to them. We're in that month, alhamdulillah. The Qa'dah is completing the 30-day cycle. From tonight, after Maghrib, the Hijjah has started. And be very careful and mindful of not falling into sin. And this message goes to me before it goes to you. And also those of you, since I'm here speaking about it, those of you who intend to do udhiyah, qurbani, try not to cut your nails, clip your nails, cut your hair until you sacrifice the animal. Try not to. It's not that you can't, it's mustahab, it's preferred that you don't. It's preferred that you don't. You'll get more hasanat for it. But in case of a need or in a situation, you still have the leeway of doing it. It's the hujjaj who can't. For us, we'll try to mimic them and in hopes get reward. But in case if you must, you can. But at the end of the day, prefer not to.
My question is, not to cut the nails and hair is for the guy who is doing the qurbani or for the whole family?
Qurbani. For the person who's doing qurbani, yes. So, of course, the one who's doing qurbani.
Oh.
Now, the other question should be that I think nowadays, even sometimes people feel that in a household of adults, one qurbani suffices everybody. One goat, one poor goat will suffice a crowd of 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Don't mistake yourself for that. Okay, if you're, mashallah, financially fit and able to, everyone should give qurbani on their own, inshallah. So, on a last note before I end, inshallah, the month of the Hijjah, after tonight, inshallah, do your best in capturing some moments of night worship and try your best in trying to fast in the days. If you can't, then at the very least, fast on the day of Arafah. And the beauty about fasting on the day of Arafah, which would fall into what day? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you tell me. Saturday? Right? We all know some who may do Eid on Sunday, some who may do Eid on Monday. We're doing it on Monday, inshallah, right? So in our case, Yawm Arafah would be Sunday, right? And then Yawm Nahar on the day of Eid, inshallah, Monday. So the reward, the merit, the virtue of fasting on the day of Arafah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentions that if you fast on that day, it is hoped that the previous year of sins are forgiven and the upcoming year of sins are pardoned as well. So it's not, don't take this to be a ticket to sinning because you feel that I fasted on this day now, I can do whatever I want for the upcoming year and all my sins will be pardoned. Two things to keep in mind. One, it's minor sins, right? And second, if you feel that way, that you've just earned a free slip of committing sins, then I don't think that the fasting that you performed was accepted in the sight of Allah. Because ibadah in essence brings us closer to Allah, not further away from Him. The ulama, I'll end here. The ulama mention a key factor in knowing that your ibadah is being accepted. As you perform your ibadah, you get closer and closer and closer to Allah over time. Because one ibadah adds to another ibadah. That ibadah takes you even closer to Allah. And that ibadah brings you even closer. So it only adds up to the closeness of yours between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if for some odd reason we're doing something, we're performing our ibadah, but something isn't right and it's taking us away from Allah, then it's not being accepted. And we're being put at a distance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy over time, further and further and further away. So this is a good metric in a way to gauge yourself, to see if your ibadah is becoming accepted. You fast in the days of the Hijjah or Yawm Arafah, you feel really good and alhamdulillah happy about it, and you're able to say no to certain haram and certain evils and sins, then know that that fasting became accepted in the sight of Allah. But if you find yourself, committing more sins after that fast, then that fast wasn't accepted. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us your Islam and His deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow me and you to make the best of these days that we're blessed with. How many people are there, or how many people were there, who thought of making the best of the 10 days of the Hijjah, and they're no longer with us? They've passed on, they've moved on. We, alhamdulillah, are still in this world. Meaning, we still have that opportunity to make amends, to say sorry, to get closer to Allah, and to rectify our actions and our deeds and become better Muslims. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us, grant us the best of both worlds, and not to deprive us of His mercy. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.